Let's look at species here. So the word species, we have an organism. Remember, those are all the living things. So organisms with similar characteristics. So for example, we have a picture here. We have the butterfly species. So even though every single one of these butterflies doesn't look identical, they still have similar characteristics. They form the same way, they do the same things, so it's a species. So for example, us, we have the human race, right? We're a species on our own. We don't all look the same. Even twins have some differences between them when you really look at them closely. But we're still considered one species because we're made the same way. We have this. Our bodies do the same functions and everything. So we are a species. Dogs are the same way. Dogs are a species. They don't all look the same, but they were made the same way. Their bodies carry out the same functions. So that is a species. Now let's look at a population. All right. So now that we looked at an organism already, which is any living thing, now we move over to a population, which is the second step. This is a group of organisms. Remember, organisms are those living things. So it's a group of organisms of the same species in the same area. So for example, we're humans. We're all the same organism. So we are considered a population. All of us that live here, for example, if you live all on the east side of San Antonio, you're considered a population. Even San Antonio as itself, we're a population here because we live in the same general area and we're a group of the same species. So here we have some pictures of some sea lions here, or seals. Sorry, that was my fault. And then here we have some pandas. All right, so that's a population, a group of the same organism from the same species living in the same area. So organism is where we started, so let's write that down. We started with an organism, and then when you get several organisms, you move to a population. So now we have the community. So now here we have all the different populations in the same area. So for example, let's look at San Antonio as an example. We have all the humans. We have a bunch of butterflies. We have ants. We have dogs. We have cats. We have all sorts of trees. We have different plants, flowers, all that. So when you put all these different populations together, since we're all different species, now we have our community because we all live in the same area. So the first one that we started with, if we remember carefully, was the organism. So all the living things. Then when you put all the same organisms together, living in that same area, you have your population. Now that you put all the different populations in the same area together, now you have what we call the community. So if you notice, we're still looking at just the living things, all right? We haven't looked at the non-living things as they interact with us. We've looked at just the living things and how we classify them based on the species and how many there are and where they live and how they interact so far. Now we get to the big picture, the ecosystem. So right here, an ecosystem is a system that comprises, which means to make up, all the biotic. What did biotic mean again? Great job. All the living. And abiotic, what is abiotic? Great job, non-living. So a system that comprises or makes up all the biotic and abiotic factors in an area and the interactions among them. What does interaction mean again? We looked at that word. Great job. How they all work together. All right, so we started with number one, the organism, which is biotic or abiotic. Great job, it's biotic. Then we got several of the same species together. For example, all the humans, or just all the dogs, or just all the butterflies, or just all the trees, the same type of tree. And then we have a population, which is also living. So biotic or abiotic? Great job, biotic. Then we move to number three. We move to that one when you put all the different populations together, all the dogs and the cats and the trees and the birds, humans, everything working together. We had our community, so we were still looking at just the living things. So biotic or abiotic? Great job, still biotic. And finally, we move to the fourth one, which is the ecosystem. Now here we have pretty much the community. So we have this again, the community, which is biotic. But now we have it working together with all the abiotic or non-living things. That's your ecosystem. So now everything. How do we interact with the cars around us? Or the rocks, the dirt? How do we interact with the houses? How do we interact with each other when it comes to technology? All of that put together creates our ecosystem. So right here you have a picture of a simple ecosystem right there. And here we have many different ones. You have the desert, tropical rainforest, coral reef, which is underwater, the marine, wetlands, the savanna, the taiga, the polar ice cap, tundra. So those are just some of the ones. We still have just marine, we have freshwater, so we have so many different types of ecosystems that exist in our world. Habitat. All right, so the habitat, this is the place where an organism, living thing, don't forget, naturally grows and lives. So for example, right here, for this sea turtle, that would be its habitat, where it lives, where it naturally grows, and does the things it has to do. Here, now that looks kind of interesting to us, but those are like, like maybe apartments or something. So that would be a home, something that we're used to. That's a habitat for us. That's a place where we live as humans and where we naturally grow and do the things that we have to do. So thanks for watching, boys. I'll see you all in class.